All right, good morning. You're at the Newbury OPM Designer Selection Committee. It is Friday the 5th. Get that right? Mm-hmm. Good, right, Dave?
7:08.
7:08. Let's open the meeting. And we've got two sets of meeting notes.
No, we still can't do the one because Dick's not here.
Okay.
So, but if anybody, I did pass these out, so if anybody.
Does Dick have to be here? If we have a... Do we just make the quorum for that?
I think we just made the quorum.
Right.
I think without him, it's only, we only have 4 people, right, so.
Okay, so then we move on to last week's meeting notes, of which I just had one comment and review. If everybody's had a chance to read them. Does anybody have any comments on them?
I have a copy.
Oh,
Sorry.
we're supposed to be going down that way.
Sorry. I got that. No, just had the agenda.
A longer thing. Because I got here's my copy. Put it down.
Did you get my email yesterday afternoon? I had
Okay.
one word in it.
I didn't,
You did?
no.
Okay.
Don't know what it was.
Yep. No. It was just an embellishment of, I wanted to add qualifications.
Before ability,
Yes,
speak to their qualifications and ability.
yes, because it's, to be clear, it's qualifications. Excellent.
Okay.
So on number 2, last sentence, the idea is to have the proposer speak to their qualifications and ability to do the work described. Again, we're not negotiating a fee, we're not negotiating tasks, although we're asking them to cover it. We want to hear how they go about the job, but we're really trying to select the best person on the qualifications. So, anybody else have any other comments on the meeting notes? Do you have a motion to accept
As amended.
as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
Second at the end? No? And all those in favor? Aye. There we go. All right, so, hopefully today would be short and sweet, but, let's see. Martha did a great job as always of re-putting back into shape what
We bend out.
what I tried to screw up. How do you want to do this? Martha's the best.
I don't know. I mean, I had questions and comments. I don't know if you want to go through page by page, which will not be so short and sweet. But maybe if we could look at the marginal comments, and I guess John had some as well, and then go to the scope.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yep. So I would hope to touch base with the Inspector General today and just ask, the Central Register, is it the Daily News? There's good awareness for a few bidders and or just the general public. And the only other thing I can think of is you put it in the Globe, but
That's what I said.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great.
I was looking at Linfield's, and I think all they did was Central Register in their local paper, and that was
Okay.
it.
So if it doesn't have to go on the Globe, that's fine.
I would think we'd
But,
want.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make the best effort to get it out there.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like we've got people lined up at the door and we've got to turn them away. And I'm a little off on pages since I got your WinDat thing and I opened it and then it came up funky on the Mac, and so I'm a little off on just reporting pages as we through this.
Okay,
So,
maybe we can do it under headings
yep. So,
instead.
table of contents looks great. The required forms, just a general question. I don't know what we're missing if we don't have it.
I've sent that to Ginny, so I'm
Okay.
gonna get that from her.
And John, I don't know if there's a, it looks pretty straightforward.
It looks,
And it looks like there's more than enough
yeah.
information there, and anybody that hopefully we select, obviously, is gonna demonstrate that they've done this before, and so this isn't their first time through, and we're not.
And that they might tell us we're missing something, and that'll help us.
Right, right, and we're hiring them to be helpful, so, okay.
And I will put in page numbers once we finalize this, but it seems like a kind of pointless exercise right now. And we actually don't have in this packet an invitation to submit proposal. Linfield had that, so I was kind of going off their
Mm-hmm.
table of contents, so if we don't end up putting one in, we can scratch that.
Well, it's notice of proposal, comma, invitation to bid, or invitation to submit, right?
Yeah, we just had it in a slightly different format, so, whatever we end up with is obviously what this will reflect. Then on the legal notice, we had qualifications listed. My fear always, and they taught us this in architecture school, is say something only once. So since we outlined all of that in the RFQ, I didn't see that we needed to have it in the legal notice, and there could be contradictions.
That's excellent.
So if
I was
everybody's
looking at that.
in agreement, I'll take that out.
And we move on to,
Under qualifications for the owner's project manager, and if anybody had any comments on, kind of the red lines in between, please speak up. I think we just want to make sure that what we put in here for project experience doesn't contradict what we have in the evaluation, and I didn't do a double check. And I think what we're looking at here actually seem to be some of the maximum qualifications. So I wonder if we want to state sort of minimum qualifications, or how we might want to do that.
This is a minimum before.
if the qualifications are listed in the, submission package, then we could scrub most of this section and just say the following. The Newbury OPM Designer Selection Committee has determined important minimum requirements required for the success of this project. Any OPM considered will need to show that it has the required experience to undertake the project. Firms should not respond to this RFQ if they do not meet these required qualifications and responses to be considered. Required experience as noted per section
Section 4.
5, submission package, blah, 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 and we spelled it out there.
Okay, yeah, so just refer to section.
And take out these three bullets. Because, let's see, we've asked about the minimum of 5, we spell that out, experience, we spell that out. Commitment to provide staff, let's just circle that one at the moment. Knowledge, Massachusetts Building Code, I think we have that. Note at this time, so then we leave the note at this time, and we take out the chapter 49A, good knowledge of procurement, and we take out the open book. So you take out the bullets and leave the 2 paragraphs and refer them to section 5 submittal. All right, that shortens it and doesn't duplicate.
Do you want to keep in the commitment to provide the staff?
I just want to make sure, because we had discussed this, Dick had brought that up as an item, and I think that it's covered.
So are you saying taking out that first bullet point that says management of a minimum 5 building?
Right, because I think,
It's redundant.
I'm saying, take out all the bullet points, leave the two written paragraphs,
Right.
add a sentence that refers them to the section 5 submittal requirements, and under all phases of service of scope of work at the end, the OPM shall be responsible with the building committee's approval for selecting, retaining, and coordinating the professionals or other services or special consultants and testing laboratories required for the project and not provided to the architect.
Well, the reason I ask you is because then we have on a grading grid, we talk about 5 and then submittal of 3, so it looks like we would actually accept 3
Yeah. Well, I had that
in the
question.
matrix if
Right.
we want to go forward, and so we don't want to talk about a minimum of 5 when we're talking about 3 also.
Well, that was my concern.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
In the grid, we don't have ADA, but in the bullet point, we do.
They have to be, and it's not really, I said this before, and this is where it comes up, is it's not really, the OPM should know about the codes, but it's not his responsibility to provide the project that meets the code and be the one that determines the code. So it's,
Okay. So that bullet
Being
point can go
familiar
away.
with the codes is all they're required to do.
so I would just, the OPM, so at the end of all phases, we could take that one sentence on the commitment to provide this staff personnel presented in the response and the RFQ for the duration of the project, move that sentence to the end there,
To the end of all phases.
to the end of all phases, the third paragraph. The OPM shall be responsible.
So right here.
Yes. All right. That doesn't duplicate, and that makes it more concise.
Okay. Okay, then scope of services, I think I'm afraid I got a little confused. So I think last time we had talked about adding design phase services, which were missing. Now we seem to have sort of 2 general categories and then still some specific categories. So I was hoping that we could go through.
Yeah,
Because we've got, again, scope of services, then it goes to pre-construction, pre-design is eliminated, it goes to pre-construction, construction phase, closeout, and then all phase services,
OPM and payments and invoices.
and payments and invoices.
All right, so.
And there were, I took the liberty, there were a few suggestions that Dick Passeri had made that I didn't see in here unless I just missed them, so I took the liberty of adding some of those as well.
So let's do the first thing is let's move all phase services to the start.
That makes sense. And would we then combine it with the
Yeah,
general ones that you
you're
had
thinking
here?
like me. Yep, and then you would cross out OPM, well, you could leave the title OPM scope of services, and then you could have all phase services right underneath it. And then, then we would start in with, during the design or selection phase, the OPM shall advise the town, the OPM should assist in the preparation. Then those bullets sort of go in order. get erased in some of this.
Yeah, the stuff,
It wasn't like this.
yeah, the stuff in blue is what you deleted, and then the rest of it was here.
Too much data tracking is
It's tough.
detrimental to the brain.
It's very tough.
It's not what I do every day to look at it like that.
You know,
Okay.
would it make more sense to actually not, to just have one general list of services and not break it down between construction phase, or should we try to pull back out and,
I think it's okay to leave the pre-construction because there's certain distinctions from the construction phase. The pre-construction issue design phase in this format. I'd leave it. It's somewhere down here I saw that, maybe we'll bullet some of the more specific stuff in a paragraph, and I can't remember where
it was the one, yeah, it was the one under closeout services. Because almost all the bullets went away in that one, it was a
Yeah.
very long paragraph, and it seemed like, since everything else was in bullet format,
That
we
would be
might want to
good.
break that
Yes.
out of that.
I agree with that. There's somewhere in here, and jump around some of this, it says the designer's clerk, wherever that is. It should be the designer's clerk, like I said, the OPM usually hires the clerk. Go have it word well. So it's just, however, that got in there somewhere. And when I go back home, I can always go find a couple of these things I think I remember and forward them on to you.
Okay. Yeah, because we do say that the OPM will provide
Clerk of the works.
clerk of the works.
Right. We just don't want it to be confusing. And if we don't catch it, it'll come up in an RFI.
We can, we'll go through
In
this.
Maine, the architect hires the clerk for the owner, which is why I say that depends on what state you're working in.
That's on the construction phase
Yeah.
services.
The third paragraph down.
Provide a clerk of the works during the next phase construction OPM. Provide necessary oversight of the clerk to ensure that all required duties are being performed in a competent and timely manner.
Yeah, if you go down a few bullet points, review contractors' applications for payment, blah, 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 the OPM should be involved with the contractor and designer's clerk and review.
That's where that.
All right, so if we just delete the word designers, does that do
Mhm.
The OPM should be involved with the contractor and clerk
Designer.
in review of the pencil requisition.
But the designer will be reviewing it too, right?
So maybe
Should
it's a
be.
comma, not,
Should be, yeah.
maybe it should
I mean,
be
it's-
designer, comma, clerk.
Yeah, with the contractor.
You just say all parties, but I guess it's better to spell it out here.
Okay, so contractor, comma, designer, comma, and clerk.
And clerk.
And that apostrophe S needs to go away.
Yeah, I'll go away.
Right.
Since we're right here, I had a question. We have the section about digital recording of construction. Should that be part of the as-built requirement, or is it better to have it broken out like
Well,
that?
what Dick had said was that he's, in the projects that he has been involved with, it would be sort of an ongoing thing, and it becomes part of the as-built record, but it would be,
Yeah.
So, before, 10 years ago, before the digital, everything and digital PDFs and stuff, they would deliver an as-built record of the drawings. Sometimes what they do is they print their submittal, and take a big crayon and just mark the crap out of it. Instead of saying
Yeah.
the pipe went like this, the pipe went like that, and you get some document, for better or for worse, that kind of shows you. Today, people are doing stuff in the computer, and some clients assume that you're updating this model, and things are done in 3D now, so you're updating it and you'll give them a perfect representation. Well, the designers aren't in the field every day and they're not installing it, and when some guy looks up and goes, and decides to put it over here, it's not, it's work that you're asking, an extra fee that it would take for the designer to go into the field, properly locate that and properly redraw it.
Okay.
So
So the as-built comes from
the
the
essence
designer.
of what everybody wants in the end and the means and method to get there are two different things. And if if you're a petroleum company, you gotta, whatever, you want that or have to have that. If you're got a town hall project and you know the pipe is running from here to there, you don't have to have it exactly there. We want it as best as possible, but we don't need to confuse the means and the extra effort and the money that would go into having perfection at this point. And so, this is kind of probably old language that just says, if you do it as you're doing it, it's a lot easier than if you run around at the end and I say, where's my as-built? And all of a sudden, there's ceiling tiles and lights up, and the guy's trying to figure out where the piping runs.
Right. The
That's
other-
what used to happen.
The other
Yeah.
thing that Dick said was that if you have a problem afterwards, you know, say all of a sudden you've got a roof leak and you have photographs of the actual roof.
That's a
being
great,
constructed.
anything you build before you close it up, photos are so valuable 20 years later.
Right, you know,
Yeah.
you see they didn't put the flashing in properly or something,
Right.
and obviously if you photographed it, hopefully
Yeah.
it was caught.
Well, that's why I wasn't sure if it was, should be part of the as-built, because it seems like it's a very useful, but if the as-built is provided by the designer, this does want to be separate, because we want someone who's on site, like you
Right,
said,
right, and
doing
it
it
does,
every day.
it does say that this will be turned over at project completion, so we will have that complete photographic record.
Yeah,
in
just,
digital form.
I
so.
hadn't thought about the fact that the designer does the as-built, so it makes sense. That's
Often
all.
the clerk is the guy taking the pictures for you, for their daily records. And
Mhm.
then I've used on other projects where I've had that becomes the photo record
Yeah.
that you can count on the most. Whereas your coordination drawings, of most of your mechanicals is what you want your as-bills for,
Right, right.
becomes your as-built drawing. Because the coordination drawing is pretty much the way it was built with a few minor shifts
Yeah.
once they get in the field. So that's another way it gets covered. And nowadays with the CAD drawings, doing all the coordination before we go in for conflicts. That's what we call coordination, as you draw it up first, so if there's any conflicts, we'll work them out. And now with the CAD drawings, they just hit a button, and shows you where it probably should go.
Yeah.
At the other police station, I think we had 3 or 4 that were problems, but they were easily resolved.
It's so much easier now.
Yeah.
Or maybe harder.
But we, right, so we want,
Is
is
it
we
a hospital?
want a permanent record by somebody,
Yeah.
and then as many people can take photographs that are organized in a process, the better. Yeah, I'll admit, I think I took some better language and laid it out, and then I think, looking at this now, it looks like I got a little lost in trying to get it back into, so I think the first word says OPM shall, those are all good sort of paragraphs, instead of breaking it out line by line that say it, and then, so I'm under like monitor all overall project budget.
Right.
So I think that starts to be a redundant piece. Review the designer's work for quality, efficiency, effectiveness. I think you could take the lead role in that, directing the cost estimating in leave the, in consultation with the designer, participate in the budget and the bidding process, leave that in. I think, the next one can come out, that's redundant.
The review invoices?
Yep. Prepare and maintain a master schedule. I think that's, that's redundant. The next one is a little vague, let's take out develop the implement quality control. It's under here. chapter 149, keep that. Keep the
Keep
next
this
one.
next one. And were you taking out monitor the overall project budget, or did
Yep.
we keep that one in?
Take that one out, and take the next one out. It's kind of vague. Keep the next two in.
Okay, so we're keeping 4 out of those.
Yep.
Okay.
So then we go from sort of all phases, then we go to these general sort of group comments, which I thought were better English. We got a little bit of redundancy now, we're up to construction phase services. And I like all those, you can't. You know, the design is up front, you get drawings, and if you make the effort to read the drawings and specifications, it's in front of you, and you have the opportunity to change it. When you're in construction, and you miss something, and everyone's standing there looking at a column in the middle of the room, and they're going, then you're all screwed. And usually, the work in construction is you gotta try to get everyone to do everything before they do it, so that they understand what they're doing, and it doesn't happen. So you can't have enough construction oversight and involvement and communication. And then, yeah, the testing and getting people from the town to understand what was built and where it was put and get trained on systems is extremely important.
Yeah, that's critical.
You know, one of the things I can see, I did, or I missed it if it did, is that usually and it's a town choice, the town has to collect the certified payrolls. And they can have the clerk / OPM coordinate that, review all that. Usually it's a good test for the clerk to do because he probably doesn't have enough to do on a certain job like this. But it's not the responsibility of the contractor to collect the certified payroll. In fact, they're not supposed to touch it, it's supposed to go right to the tenant. We need to have something in there that's part of their responsibility.
So you're saying the OPM would do that?
OPM, well,
Yeah.
check with Tracy,
Okay.
what she wants to do over, and I'll use salary because it's fresh. Lisa had the clerk do that, be responsible to her for that.
And if the clerk does it, does the OPM have a role in it?
Well,
Like
it's,
final review?
it is the
Yeah.
OPM.
Yeah,
They just say, okay,
okay,
clerk, you
okay.
follow up through with it and let me know how we're doing.
And the clerk should give it to the OPM, and the OPM should give it to the town.
Yep.
So that it's not like the clerk is doing something, the OPM goes, well, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing.
Just she or he delegates it to the clerk to be responsible for it, and then periodically, who's not, because they're checking against theirs, who's on the job site and who did it, didn't turn people in.
Right.
If they're really A-type A, then they have every name and how many counts and who did you miss because you didn't pay him certified payroll. So. And if you have a job where there's other people watching this, they'll be saying, I want to see that payrolls for that fence. The fence guy's been chased all over the area recently by fence people who haven't got the work. It was kind of cute on the other job. There was 2 guys that did the fencing, the owner and the owner of the subcontract firm that worked together all the time. He said, you don't have to do certified payroll. It's just the owner work. So it kind of killed that right away. They were chasing the data.
Right, and the issue here is that if you do it, we do our process of vote board, we do it as we're supposed to, people who feel like they've been slighted or figure out how to play the game will not distract or take away effort from what we're trying to do. But I wouldn't say it's quite a racket, but there is a way of going about this and filing bids, people complaining in order to get themselves in there. It's what happens.
We'll also want to do is the OSHA cards, the lift licenses and all that stuff, because that'll be an OSHA thing, and somebody, if the, let's say a union contractor doesn't like the open job contractor, they're just gonna call OSHA. And if they don't have the OSHA card, 10-hour training OSHA cards, so that's something you do right up front, and you just periodically, as new trades come on, you make sure you get those, and they're on file. And that would be the clerk's job, or the OPM's job, to make sure that the contractors are supplying this. Only because the town has a liability in it too.
Even though we're not directly hiring them.
Correct.
Yeah, and
That's good to know. I wouldn't have thought
Yep.
that was on us.
any legit big-time contractor, the safety is almost, sometimes you're like, what is this, all about insurance and safety? Can we go with Roger now? The amount of effort, and even when I get on a new job, the CM is required to train everybody that shows up before they walk on the site, has to get a sticker to go on their hat and go through training protocol. And they have a full-time person who's fairly high up, who's in charge of safety. You know, he's like the Pope, he comes on the site, and everything stops, and this is what happens. And so that they take their safety, because the insurance is such a big part of the cost, they take it very seriously.
Let me give you one small, very expensive example. So OSHA showed up over there. The electrician realized there was something in the ceiling he did that was wrong, so he ran up the step ladder and got fined $7,000. The ladder was not a lean against the wall ladder. It was a step ladder that was only for freestanding. He saw the guy go up and hit him for $7,500. Still cost him $5,000 to settle. So that's why safety can be that important.
Yeah, and they take great pride in saying, you know, we've had 200 days without an incident and stuff like that. And
So
it's the people you
little
don't
things to
expect to, you know, had the building inspector trip over some rebar and with big homeless pants and skin his knee because he was taking photos. He was so excited about the project that, you know, figured he'd be the last person that would do it, but that's the kind of.
And it does happen.
Yeah. So that will be a big part of the OPM. So,
Yeah. So some little details that I know we want to make sure they're aware they got to do.
so you're gonna look into that, John, right? And
Yep.
specifically tell Martha exactly what and where that goes.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, I was thinking the other day that less is more, and after reading through all these, they all have merit, and even if there is a little redundancy, again, we're picking them on qualifications. I'd rather have put something in here and have them say in the interview, you know, I was reading this and this seems a little onerous, or we really don't do this. And then we could say, oh, why is that? And then we could have a discussion about it. If we leave it in and it's all blank and it's not there, even if it's not exactly what, then it just gets glossed over. So I'd rather have it in here and be a little verbose, a little redundant, slightly out of means, than to try to fine comb this down to the very essence, because we're not trying to, again, this is to let them know that we're serious about what we're asking them, and so that they can bring the qualifications and speak to this. We're not actually picking them on this exact, we are not picking them on this exact language. They will submit a proposal and it will be negotiated, and it should include all these things. At that time, we'll have to talk with Tracy about getting a second or third opinion on what the proposal is presented for the scope of work. But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think it makes more sense to have this stuff in there, rather than, also then the company doesn't come in and say, well, we provide, we will collect the OSHA cards and make themselves look good for something that is a standard business practice. So,
Yeah, I guess in terms of negotiating down in fee, you understand exactly what you're taking out, as opposed to saying someone's fee is too high and then they only gave you, you're still expecting them to do almost everything,
Right,
but they haven't listed it, and now you understand exactly, you can go through this and sort of take it out. So,
Famous question at the time of negotiating the fee is, did you get everything? What don't you have? What services have you not included in here? It's almost more important than what they got. It's like on the drawings, it's everything on the drawings, but what don't you got?
yeah, and I think the assumptions for the designer are a little bit more straightforward. I mean, we're looking for a manager and we're looking for a certain level. And again, if you go back to some of those early 149, 30, 30B charts that were sent out in a PDF, it's, this law says you will hire an OPM in bold. You must do it from over 1.5 million. Then, in regular text, it says suggested services. Doesn't tell you, you have to hire an OPM, doesn't tell you what they have to do by law.
Mhm.
You can just hire an OPM and say, sit there, don't do anything, don't say anything, and go about your business.
Right.
So, you know, you're reading it and you're looking at the chart, you're kind of like, yeah, it's helpful, but it's not really helpful. So the state has some exceptions that the OPM is gonna do something, but it's not like all this just came right out of what the state mandates that we need the OPM to do. So we can negotiate for a lot of services, we can negotiate for a few services. If we pick the right people and we see that they do good work and we see that they have successful projects, then we're gonna get a successful project. If we see some guy that's a charlatan and has some crappy looking sheds that he's calling a full facility, then we'll know he hasn't really stepped up to the plate, he or she. Right? Okay. So, I mean, we could, if, I guess everyone should take a serious read of the scope of services, and if you see any just English that doesn't make sense, or if you think something is too open-ended, call it to attention, but I think those are my comments on that.
Okay, how about if on Monday, I take just the scope of services and clean it up, take out the things that you have deleted, and do what I think we're agreeing to today, and send that out for review
You on Monday?
on Monday.
And that's it,
And then payment invoices, I want to talk to Tracy about exactly, we talked about several different types of contract here, like fixed fee or not to exceed or whatever, so I'd like to see how she wants to handle that, and then kind of craft this accordingly.
Yeah, and I would hope that with all right,
And Ginny's recommendation as well.
right. There's, how do I say this the right way? With some, there are some towns that hire people that have no capacity in which to, or the ability in which to monitor or move the project forward. You know, if this was a big bridge project or something like that, I'd say, look, I'm not even involved. I don't want to be involved, just hire all the right people and get them to do it. So here, I think with the effort and the oversight, and if people do make the effort from the town, there could be a little less involvement by the OPM in terms of having them do absolutely everything to manage the project, that the town could take on some effort in order to hopefully reduce the fee or not. You know, not just have a blanket, you gotta do everything and get a large fee.
I agree with you.
I don't think anybody here is looking to take on responsibility, but I think if the effort is there is savings to be had. And we'll figure that out when the proposal comes, we'll see what it is.
Right.
Yeah, if they want $5 million and it leaves us $300,000 to build something, we'll have to go to plan B. Right, chief?
No.
And then, everyone get the schedule. So everyone's got to, at this point, commit to this. And I think the Friday, June the 23rd, you know, it's like a day I have to take off from work, so I'm focused on that. I cannot attend the walkthrough, but I'm sure in good hands with Martha, the chief, John.
Yep, I could be there.
I committed one of us to go to that
Right.
as just a selectman's rep.
Yeah, I can
So
make it
we're
work.
both still selectmen at that point.
Right. Hopefully.
And even if you show up and just see the whites of their eyes and make a quick introduction, you wouldn't have to hang out for the whole tour.
Well, knowing me, I'd rather hang out for the whole tour. Is there any other, and then there's just a busy week of that 1 week of receiving whatever proposals and making the time to sit down and honestly read them and honestly rank them in that weekend. really is what needs to happen. That's what we're saying, that's what the
Right.
committee is committed to.
Yeah, and it's the right way to do it too. This is just trying to open up our
Get
schedules.
it, do it,
Yep.
and
We'll be
and
much
done
happier
with it.
for it.
Not let them sit around and collect dust, because if they sit around for a day, they'll sit around for two, they'll sit around for a week, they'll
Power
never-
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the schedule. Anybody have any issue with it?
No.
We didn't take a vote on it, but it is what it is, right? This is what we're doing. Okay.
So, and that's what I put in the RFQ. And as far as, I think we still have a few days to, finalize the full language of the RFQ itself. Hopefully I'll get information back from Tracy and Ginny on the legal contractual end of it on Monday. And we'll get the legal notice out on Thursday for publication next week. I'm away next Friday and the following Monday, so the 11th or the 12th and the 15th. But,
Seems fine. There isn't much here to clean up and tweak.
no, I think we'll need to get some copies printed, but that can happen on Tuesday.
And this is going before the selectmen Tuesday?
Tuesday night, yeah,
So,
I've got us on the agenda, so
are we,
whatever form it's in, we can give it to them.
What's-
If this is okay with you, just say this is.
what else is on the selectmen's agenda for? A lot, a little?
There's a presentation.
Yeah, this,
Haven't looked yet.
I've read it, it's nothing, it's not too controversial, but,
Well, so I have Annabelle has a school event that I have to go to, committed to going to. So that's at 7:30. If I show up and I could be on the reports first thing, and I could give a super quick run through of here it is, here we have a schedule, we think we're in very good shape, here's a copy for you to read. We'd like your approval to move forward and actually advertise and kick this process off. Thank you. Like 5 minutes.
We're sure we have an executive session, we have a public hearing about
yeah,
the
we have an executive
golf
session
facility or
first.
Scotland Road, but I mean, it is what it is, whatever we have to do to, if the meeting's a little bit longer.
But can I get, do you think I can get in there in the report and do it like first thing? And how much do you think the other selectmen need to hear about this?
The executive session's at
I mean-
6:30. How long is that gonna take, do you think?
Well, I think we're planning to open the meeting still at 7.
At 7? So, and this is.
I would think we could,
Bump you right to the front.
Yep.
Where is it?
I'm trying to find it right now.
Could we expect the
And I-
selectmen to read this thing after Tuesday night and have it ready for going out to the ads 36 hours later?
That's the mandate, right?
to me, something this important, we could find time to do it.
Okay. Well, you got two of them already read it.
Right.
Yes, many
So,
times.
to me, anything that keeps us on schedule, we just do it, let's get through it.
The one upstairs with you Tuesday night?
you wanna see, especially if John
And I
can be there.
think the selectmen will
I can be
be,
there if
I think the
it's-
select, the other selectmen will be more interested in the schedule than the nitty gritty of it that
Right,
this committee's been.
Right, I mean.
Yeah.
So why don't I come to the meeting too, and if they can't get you on at 7 o'clock or 7:55, see you, and I'll just step up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I
we
think
can
between us, we
usually,
can cover it.
Because that executive thing.
Well, you'll be there, right, Martha?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be
And
there.
you'll be there? All right, so
Yeah.
that'll be good, important to some of the committee and
and the golf is not in
It's
the
not a
public
public hearing, it's just.
It isn't?
No, he's doing an informal presentation, just to kind of give you guys a heads up on what he wants to do in preparation for submitting an application for a special permit. So that will happen probably at your next meeting, and then the public hearing will be a month after that.
All right,
So it's just.
so that'll be
informal.
fairly brief.
Should be.
yeah, I'm not reading this in its entirety or asking, I'm saying the committee is working through a process, we're at this stage, I'm here to inform you.
Correct.
I'm looking, I'd like your understanding and approval that we are taking the next step to actually advertise and move forward with this. And it's going live, and, we're making good progress. And with that progress comes a commitment to a schedule that you all should be aware of. There are walkthroughs, there are qualifications being submitted, being reviewed, selections being made, people being asked to interview. We invite you and the public to attend the interview. You won't be part of the interview, but we certainly wish you and think it's wise that you are all there to listen to these interviews. And then we will have an OPM selected, and then we'll go through the same process with the OPM to select the designer. Then we'll start design.
I've asked Jeff and Tracy to move that to the front of the queue, so.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, even if it can be in the board and committee reports at the very beginning.
Yeah, I think I just said it twice in 2 minutes. It's not
Yeah, it's not gonna
this
take
huge
long.
presentation thing, and I don't know, except for having the schedule maybe up front, not really having, and they can have a copy, but not expecting them to read it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I might even drop the contract stuff from a copy if you're gonna print stuff out for us, because they don't need to read the
True.
contract language.
Right, it could just be the meeting, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
In essence, it's really the advertisement, it's the,
Right, I was thinking we could just give, almost give that and the schedule and kind of call it a day.
If requested, you can hand it to them later.
Or email it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be better to just email it to them and then hand them the schedule, hand us the schedule.
Although it's not, there's not that much of it actually, you could just, do this double-sided, it's, it's only 20 pages.
Yeah.
So it'd be 10 pages.
Yeah. In the page 12 for me, the section, we have previous projects experience. The fifth criteria we want them to provide is the completion date. Don't we also want the start of any given project rather than just the end? To me, how long the project took is important. If it's a $2 million project and it took 4 years, I want to know why, no matter how well it got completed. And if it's a $18 million project and it took a year, I also want to know how they managed, that's a feat.
yes, just add the word duration in there.
Yeah.
Those are good questions, because there are $18 million jobs that get done in a year, and there's some jobs that just don't ever end.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That's part of negotiation skill, which I think is part of the OPM's job.
Well, there's lots of things that happen in construction, and sometimes the owner gets in their own way in terms of doing that. So, you're right, it is interesting to say, when you started the original construction duration was 12 months. It takes 14 months to do anything. These days, 14 months drags out to 24 months. And then they could say, well, the owner found money and they added a sally port, and then they added 2 sally ports, and then after we got building 2 sally ports, they wanted a secondary garage, and it's not really their fault. There was added scope and things got dragged out. So
Yeah, I just want
I understand what you're saying.
to know about it. And Martha and I discussed yesterday whether or not we want to see a list of people that they've worked with, designers, because I know that in subcontracting, in construction, people choose their favorites, and they often work with the same, I work with this plumber and that electrician and this sheetrock guy, and and I think we may see this other places, but I just want to bring it up. If an OPM's only worked with one designer, and they always go to that designer, and they're helping us select a designer, I don't know if that serves us well. And so it seems like it should come up on other places how many people they work with, but I don't know if we wanted to.
In some sense, there will be some, in terms of qualifications, and that is the problem that I see, that when I used to go after public work, is that they would make their criteria, you shall have 4 public jobs within the last 4 years that are over 25 million. Well, hell, the state only had 2 jobs within the last 10 years that were over 25 million. And so the only 2 people that can qualify that are the 2 people that had those 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So, and they don't even know that they're doing it, they kind of go, I get it, So, and we are looking for qualifications, so we don't necessarily have to pick a person that has 10 and the OPM that has 10, but we'd like to see that they actually have done some work. So, some arrangements, but you're right, you're not looking for favorites, and certainly that's the whole effort of the Chapter 149, is to take the CM and to take filed sub-bids and say, CM, this is how the bids shook up, you're not working together.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the rub comes in, and that's where some of the effort to get a lower price and not have a sub pick favorites, or, hey, you're working on my job because you screwed up the last one and you owe me, so you're gonna do it for half the price. And then, you're in
Is
the
that
middle
a
of your
John
job.
Fish, is that a John Fish job?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
And so, things like that happen, and that's how they're trying to, to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be,
I mean, in a sense, we'll get some of that if they're giving us references and they're giving us projects that they've worked on. As long as they
Yeah.
provide the architects or the designers or whomever.
Let me look at that, because I think I put some comments quite a while ago, whereas I would want the contractors they've worked with and the architects.
Okay.
And the references of those people. 'Cause-
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it might be something that we kind of already get from
Make sure we
different
do.
pieces of information,
Yeah.
but it was just a question that I
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
and it's a piece of the overall pie, you can reserve that question for the couple that we interviewed.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it really
Yeah.
makes
Like,
more sense
Yeah.
than maybe.
In an early draft.
Right.
And when I go to do the close on the references, I can ask for additional names and numbers, because I don't feel I get the, what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could just ask them, do you have a preferred architect or
That's-
designer that you work with? And do you know any architects that are like, doing exceptionally well right now? Do you know any architects that are in a little bit of trouble right now? You're just having a conversation with them, and they may choose to answer or not, but, you'll get a sense of what they know or don't know.
And then page 13,
Which page?
page 13,
13.
in the firm stability and capability, we have the term proposer in there twice, and it strikes me as strange.
I like that word.
Okay.
I don't know. I was reading it the other night going, the poser. I don't know.
Is this a TV show that's going on?
The submitter.
Well, the description of the firm's history, I don't see why we switched to proposer as opposed to keeping with just the firm.
Coupled together for a couple
Right.
things.
Well-
Someone used proposer and someone used.
And we do it differently. Like up above, we say, describe your firm's approach,
Yeah.
as opposed to the firm's approach. So I can go through and try to make sure that it's at least consistent that way.
That's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, certainly not a big deal, it struck me.
You saw that at 1:30, wasn't 2 o'clock yet?
I'm not quite sure, I was, I looked at it when I was reading this, trying to make notes. That's why I was in here first thing this morning, because I was trying to go over it all and make sure I made some sense as I was reading.
I gotta figure out how to send it to this guy and just show my comments on the side stuff.
Well, the first time I heard it, I was being a little dyslexic, and I was like, prosper? What are we talking about? So.
Do we want to identify who's going to be the town of Newbury's representative? Is it you or Tracy?
For what part of it?
Well, projects will, town projects will have, we have an OPM, one role from the owner's side, who's the person, like Lisa in Salvi was really well
It's
described,
her- Right,
which is
right.
your equivalent, I believe.
Right, she is.
But maybe Tracy wants to. In
Yeah.
smaller communities, I've had, the business manager of the town.
Does it have to be one person, or could it be a combination of the two?
Should be one.
Yeah, Buck's gotta stop with one.
Yeah,
I think it would be you because you're gonna be closer to it and it frees Tracy up, and that's just my opinion.
right. I don't think that conversation's been held yet, so I don't know.
May not be necessary yet, but when we get to the things that roll.
I think, yeah, it should be in the contract, I think.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to list who the people you're answering
Right.
to, especially you or Tracy becomes the chief executive of this whole thing.
Yeah, you're gonna have a committee, the committee's gonna report back to the BOS, report to the public, report to Tracy, but Tracy's the one that's gonna sign the check or be the final
Right,
say.
right, but there does need to be a point person for the information flow.
So if you're sitting, and you're likely to sit in on all the meetings, or should be if you can, so that you can say, we can't do that, or you can shoot from the hip right away, or we can go into our own executive session after a meeting and say, hey, this is how we feel about it. There's usually going to be a point person on the
Right.
executive board.
I get faith in Martha if she really wants another job.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think it's a big job, it's just part of what we're doing.
It's not easy.
You're not gonna do it? You're slow. So that'll need to be just decided somewhere.
But, somebody needs to do it, I'm happy to do it with architectural experience, that could be helpful.
They'll understand the conversation a lot better.
Right.
But it's really, probably up to you guys and Tracy as to how it's gonna get handled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other finer points?
No?
All right. We go forward.
Do you want a motion to adjourn, or?
I'm just taking a second to,
Next steps? We got those pretty well clearly labeled.
well,
What you're thinking, just so, just to reiterate, if anybody has any further comments, I will send a cleaned up scope out, and then if you have any comments, you can get back to me
you're gonna have this
Tuesday.
cleaned up on Monday,
The scope, yeah.
right? So Monday at noon, no later than, is your last chance to get any comments tomorrow, period.
Well, it depends on when I get it out on Monday, because I can't work over the weekend.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Oh,
it's Monday
to-
at noon, it's
to
the
add-
last chance for anybody to have any
Before it
edits
gets
on
cleaned
this.
up, got it.
Martha's gonna clean it up, and it'll be
12:01.
printed on Tuesday evening for the Board of Selectmen meeting. And that is the final draft, and obviously, if you find a little error, which we.
A typo or
Martha,
something.
typo, you can call it up, but that is it.
Right, well, what I want to do.
Substantive.
Right, we gotta
What I'd
move
like
forward
to do
here.
actually
Okay.
is a two-stage. If you have any comments that you know of right now, get them to me Monday morning by noon if you can.
Mhm.
And I'll incorporate those into a cleaned up version just of the scope, and then I'll send that out by the end of the day on Monday.
That's fine.
And if you have any further comments, once you see it cleaned up, because sometimes when it's,
Yeah, it's.
Can always
tracked,
set
it's
bias.
very hard to.
Looking at it and catching. Yep.
Right, and then, let me know by noontime on Tuesday.
Have Tracy, Ginny, and anybody else read this?
What Tracy, she doesn't want to see the entire thing until it's pretty much complete.
Okay.
But I did send out all the legal, I sent out the legal notice and all the contractual procedural stuff to Tracy and Ginny yesterday. So I want feedback on that from them before.
So. What's their deadline for, if we're going on next Thursday live with this?
Well, we don't actually, the ad is going in on Thursday, but we still have until the following Tuesday,
Okay.
quite honestly, to make any final, to tweak it.
Okay, so then they need a deadline of which to get their edits in,
Right.
so that we all have one last vote and it's out the door.
Right, so I don't know, I was thinking, I don't know whether we want
So-
to have one more meeting.
So to that end, we have the advertisement, which is the legal notice, which I guess I'd like to leave the meeting with the vote approval of the committee that this is what we're sending out the door.
Well, I did send it to Tracy and Ginny, so it would be subject to any edits. if
That's
they-
fine, but I think that, this, taking steps, we are going live, there's no more just committing this thing to death, this is it. And, it's a condensed version of what we say, again, and what we're asking for in qualifications. We ask for a $20 reproduction cost, or a digital copy can be sent by email. So it's not like we're forcing someone to pay, they can get a digital copy of it.
Well, and that was, I think, the $20 was just for the backup material, not for the RFQ itself, is the way I read this.
Okay, so let's make that
So how do we say that, where do we say that this RFQ?
The RFQ will be provided digitally. The backup material can be obtained at town hall for a fee of $20.
If they want hard copies.
Right, so can we provide that a little bit? And it's just making sure that everybody understands the access means and methods there.
Right, so what we've got in the body of the RFQ is that they can pick up, and I want to check this with Tracy too, they can pick up hard copies from probably the clerk, or Ellen, I'm not sure.
It should be the clerk.
Or email me for a digital copy. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think we charged for the RFQ itself when we sent it out to the master plan consultant for hard copy.
The town's printing it, I think.
But I think that, yeah, certainly we should charge for the backup stuff, because that could be some, the drawings and everything.
No, I would think that, so the document is now 41 pages, it's probably gonna drop down.
It'll drop down some, yeah,
Some.
once we get rid of all the tracked changes.
I would think we'd charge for both, just because why should the town be paying?
I think it's that you weed out, and there is always the risk of some guy who's thinking they're gonna take a flyer on this, as soon as they realize there's a cost, they're out. It's not that huge of a cost, but, and costs, we are just passing the buck, but at this point, it's really, if somebody's committed and wants to do it, and the cost of doing work, they're into it.
Yeah.
If they're a little wishy-washy and they're not quite figuring this out, then, we're not handing out stuff just to be thrown on the shelf and then never looked at.
Yep.
Tire kickers. And we're pushing the electronic version too, which is, I think more people want nowadays anyways.
Right, that's
Yeah.
for the master plan. I think
Yeah.
most of the requests were for digital.
If there was some way that it was, you have to pay in order to play, that doesn't quite work.
No.
Here, you can always get the digital copy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, I'll rework that and check with Tracy on what would be a reasonable charge for the hard copies.
So the site plan, the survey, the two plans and the two programs, the programs are, I don't know, 4 or 2 double-sided 8.5 by 11 each.
Right, and we could also,
Survey's 1, and the 2 plans,
and we could do all of that as 11 by 17s.
Okay.
yeah, at this point, they just need the squint test to see that there's
Yeah.
actually real information on the page, and they're not just, we're not just making this up and stuff like that, so,
So that's actually probably not $20 worth of stuff either.
no. What do you charge per page? 10 cents?
Depends on what the snow and ice deficit is. It wasn't too bad of a winter, so.
I think under the public records law, we're allowed to charge something like $5, 5 cents a page or something, so,
So, let's say you have 40 pages.
but there's time involved.
Okay, so 40, and then let's say there's 45 pages, and then we go 1, 2, 6, so there's like 50 pages times 5 cents times the hour. So we could put that down to 50 here.
Since we're eventually gonna pay one of these people a lot of money, I think we could, as high as reasonable.
$15 should be more than enough to.
So that would be for both the RFQ and the documents?
Yeah, it's an hour, well, it's a half hour plus the paper and the labor gets spread out over several people, so.
Public records law, you can only charge the hourly rate of the lowest paid employee of your agency. So, I don't know who the lowest paid employee of your agency is, the town hall is, but.
That'd be me.
I think it's
Zero.
I was gonna go for us, but
Could be only rated the selectmen, maybe?
I know, probably these guys.
Let's just make it 15 and, okay,
Okay.
good with that? All right, so I guess what I'm asking for is a motion to approve the legal ad pending any review comments by Tracy,
And town council?
and town council.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So the plan of action, again, is continue to read and sleep on this. Any edits to Martha before noon on Monday, Martha drafts it up and prints a copy without the contracts for the Board of Selectmen. I'll show up, I'll give a brief overview of what we've done, what we have done, what we've accomplished, what we're planning to do, that we have a schedule, that we're moving forward, we're making progress, and that, this is real. This isn't just another committee report. This is taking action here and moving forward. And I guess the only thing the 3 times I've said this is stutter on is, am I asking the selectmen for an approval, for a vote, I'm here to just report and inform you what we're doing, really?
I think it's just an informational, you're not asking for our approval at that point, you're just telling us what's going on. Because we've given you a charge,
And we're doing it.
and
Right.
it's moving, you just want to tell us.
All right,
So it's not,
good.
Weird to talk in those terms. You're telling us what.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add or say or do? No?
all set.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.